Tunaingia vijijini, mijini na hata jijini kukuletea taarifa mchana kutwa. Usiku tunaketi kitako, tunadadavua tukichanganua taarifa na makala muhimu yanayokuhusu wewe na familia yako. Ungana na Bernard Ngozi kwenye Open Forum Political Show kuanzia saa 4 usiku hadi dakika zake kila siku ya wiki kwenye
Yeah, precisely. Welcome to Sound Candid Talk Open Forum Political Show. Tell me where you're watching from. Good morning from my side of the globe. It's 12:30 a.m. here in Nairobi. Tell me where you're watching me from. Engage with me. Welcome to the show. My name is Douglas as usual. Okay, so to our top stories tonight. The wrangles in Meru County are finally over with the swearing in of Deputy Governor Mutuma, who is now Governor Mutuma, after the High Court upheld the ruling made by the Senate to impeach former Governor Kawira Mwangaza, who had survived two impeachment attempts prior to the third one, where the Senate upheld that impeachment, and subsequently she sought refuge in the courts, but the courts upheld the impeachment, and that was green light for the Meru County government to swear in their new governor. Hopefully that will yield fruits for the residents of Meru County going forward. It has been 2.5 years since the last election, and it has been a tussle between the governor, the MCAs, the local politicians. The residents have not really been getting services. But with that matter settled, although she says that she'll still continue to fight on, but it's time that the Meru governor gets services. It's time that the politics go to sleep. And at least for the remaining time of this term, until the next election cycle, at least they get the services as other counties. She becomes I think the third or the fourth governor to be impeached. But I asked you, is impeachment more about settling political scores than it is about ensuring accountability? Yes, the drafters of our constitution envisioned a situation where citizens will go to the ballot and they will elect leaders for themselves in various capacities. But, human beings being human beings, you never know if they let you down or they are going to make your life as good as you imagined. So that is why they came up, or rather, they made space for that if at all citizens down the line decide that this is not the leader we envisioned in this person, they're going to go back and impeach. But, over the past few years since this constitution came into effect, we've seen these impeachments being weaponized. Recently, and the most high-profile one being the deputy president of Kenya, who was impeached, some few months ago. And, there have been different conversation around that. Some people believe that, yes, he did something wrong as per the constitution. All those charges that were presented before Parliament and the Senate against him, all those charges. But some people feel that it was premeditated. It was a political move or a political strategy by the chess master behind the scenes, who is none other than the president. And so I just want to open that conversation, even as we take stock of that, what this means for Meru County. But I want us to really think about it. How do we go about it? Because impeachment is good, and recently having impeached the deputy president, it proves that we can actually impeach any elected leader if we are dissatisfied with their leadership once elected, even the president himself. But then again, is this being used as a weapon? It has been a trend in this country. Those state institutions and tools provided for by the constitution, we've had a bad behavior as a country, and especially the ruling class, of abusing those tools that have been set by the constitution to oversight and for accountability, to use them to frustrate political rivals and so forth. So just welcoming you into the conversation to help make sense of all these things surrounding that Meru County. But in other news, it's been 2.5 years since this regime took over power, and the President William Ruto and his administration are halfway done with their first term in office. And we take stock of that, how they've performed, how have they fulfilled those promises that they gave to Kenyans on the campaign trail. They came to power during a time when Kenyans, I'd say, were seeking for hope. Kenya as a nation was on a decline, especially economically. Inflation was really high, and we are experiencing a recession in the aftermath of COVID-19, 2 years just before the elections. And there were talks of the government spending on really expensive infrastructure, and thus acquiring bigger and bigger loans. And the country was generally in a bad place. And when this regime took over, it promised to fix that. It promised hope to Kenya. So we take stock of that. How has this administration performed politically, economically during those 2.5 years that they've been in power? And finally, finally, Rwanda cuts ties with Belgium. Belgium has been accused of instigating conflict in the volatile region of Eastern DRC and undermining Rwanda. And finally, President Kagame has decided, and his government have decided, to sever ties with Belgium, directing all Belgian diplomats to leave Rwanda within the next 48 hours. And Belgium, in retaliation, has also instructed Rwandese diplomats in Belgium, declared them persona non grata. So we're also going to talk about that, see what is happening in the larger East African region, because to an extent, it will always come back to us. It will always affect us. We are part of the East African community. Those are our neighbors. We are African, and African is our business. So welcoming you to the show. Sending out the link right now in the count of 1, 2, 3. There you go. The link is out there. We are live on Facebook, Sound Candid Talk. We are live on YouTube, Sound Candid Talk Live, and on our backup channel on YouTube, Sound Candid Talk. Remember to like this video, share it out, and if you've not subscribed, you're doing me an injustice. Subscribe to this channel. We need to grow this community, even as we continue to push for accountability and fidelity to the rule of law in this country. And as we amplify our voices using these digital tools, as we push for better governance and a more sane country. So welcome into the conversation. click on that link that I've just sent out. It's there on Facebook for those of you who are watching me on Facebook. It's there on YouTube. Click on that link. Let StreamYard configure your mic and your camera, and you're going to find yourself in this amazing studio to have this conversation with me. And on my poll question tonight, I'm asking you, is impeachment more about settling political scores than it is about ensuring accountability? 13 votes so far. 85% of you say yes. It's more about settling political scores. 15% of you disagree, think otherwise. Say no. Probably they feel like it's still more about accountability. But, I want to hear from you. So I welcome you into the studio. Engage with me in the comment section. For those of you on their keyboards, I already have Esther Star there who says, good evening, Bernard, and all of you. Bernard is not here, but surely he will get that message from you. Good evening to you too, Esther. Says, I like the video. Sammy Costa there with some Sheng jargon says, how are you, Nimtunguyas? Mambo Mbwegze. Well, Tunaim Mahmood, as usual, says, hi, Douglas and everyone. Hi, Tunaim Mahmood, Ramadan, Mubarak. Dair Abdi says, hi, everyone. So welcome to the show. Welcome to the studio. In the comment section, engage with me. And this is your conversation. And I'm merely the steward. So I'm going to be waiting here. I'll play some bites just to bring you up to speed with what has been happening on our topics tonight or today morning, depending on where you are. But continue to invite each other. Send out the link. And if you've not subscribed, please subscribe. So once again, welcome to the show. Let's take a look at this.
Taken over as Meru County's fourth governor, vowing to unite residents and restore stability in a county that has faced turbulent leadership since Kawira Mwangaza's tenure began. Despite his swearing in already facing a legal challenge, Mutuma took the oath of office minutes past 10 a.m. at Mwenda Antu grounds in Meru town. Now, the ceremony was attended by both current and veteran leaders, many of whom have been accused of fueling Mwangaza's troubled tenure. Kamau Mwangi was in Meru and now brings us this report.
I, Honorable Isaac Mutuma.
Moments after the national and East African anthems played,
Truly and vigilant.
Meru Deputy Governor Mutuma took the oath of office, officially assuming his former boss's position as Meru County's fourth governor. His swearing in met with loud cheers from an electrified crowd. And after the oath, it was time to celebrate victory. From the jubilant crowd to the political leaders in attendance, joy and excitement filled the air. Weighing heavily on the new county boss is the legacy of a turbulent 2.5-year tenure marked by deep divisions. His predecessor, Kawira Mwangaza, survived 2 impeachment attempts, only for the High Court to uphold her third impeachment on Friday.
I declare today that the political grandstanding has come to an instant end. I commit to work with each one of you. I will operate an open door policy where each one of you is welcome.
The swearing in, conducted under heavy police presence, saw the new governor position himself as a solution to the county's challenges. The ceremony drew Meru's political elite, including both serving and veteran politicians.
I am aware that we face many challenges, and I'm here not to make grand promises, but to offer you something more: servant leadership.
With Mwangaza out of the picture, calls to allow the new county boss to deliver for the Meru electorate dominated speeches. Everyone who took to the stage pledged close collaboration to steer the county forward.
Kawira Mwangaza awachane na maneno ya koti, aende nyumbani apumzike. Alikuwako, alipatiwa nafasi. Sasa leo ndio tunaanza safari, na tukianza safari leo ujue tumechelewa na miaka 2.5. Kila mtu sasa arudi kwa ofisi yake. Mimi narudi Senate kuendelea na kazi yangu. There are a lot of frustrated hopes and dreams of Meru. We wanted to make Meru great, lakini kazama ikaingia kwa matope. Sasa tumekuja kuokolewa na mtu wa Mungu. We will come back to Meru because Meru is where we belong, and Meru is our business, and now Meru is more peaceful, and I believe going forward Meru itakuwa better kuliko vile imekuwa.
According to the new county chief, health, education and agriculture will be his top priorities despite a case filed earlier today challenging the legality of his swearing in.
We have a past, a painful past of trials and sacrifice, a burden borne by many of our leaders and the people they lead, a past that we should deliberately and consciously choose to forget.
The battles are over and now the real work begins. That was the message as Meru County welcomed its fourth governor, officially bringing to a close Kawira Mwangaza's tenure, a period marked by intense political turbulence. Kamau Mwangi, Citizen TV, Mwendanto grounds in Meru County.
Now, former Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza has vowed to appeal the High Court's decision upholding her impeachment by the Senate, marking the end of a turbulent tenure. Mwangaza, one of the 7 female governors elected in 2022, had a rocky 2.5 years in office, surviving 2 impeachment attempts before her final removal. As Emmanuel Toh now reports, she now makes history as the first governor from the 2022 elections to be ousted through impeachment.
Mwangaza has been duly elected as the county governor for Meru County.
Former Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza defied expectations, defeating 2 political heavyweights, then incumbent Governor Kiraitu Murungi and former Agriculture CS Mithika Linturi.
I, Honorable Bishop Kawira Mwangaza, do swear.
Running as an independent candidate, she secured her place in history, joining the exclusive club of 7 female governors elected in 2022, also known as the G7. But her meteoric rise was short-lived. The glory she once basked in quickly faded as MCAs, mostly from the Devolution Empowerment Party, Mbas Party, and UDA regrouped, drafting an impeachment motion against her.
And the governor stands impeached by the County Assembly of Meru. Thank you.
By December 2022, barely 5 months into her tenure, the motion sailed through the County Assembly, marking the beginning of her political downfall. During the first impeachment attempt, later rejected by the Senate, MCAs built their case around what they termed as excessive involvement and interference by Mwangaza's spouse, Murega Baisho, in affairs of the county.
Mama, Kawira governor ni mama.
A second impeachment attempt in November 2023 also failed, as the Senate sent it back to the MCAs after they were unable to substantiate the allegations. However, it was her dramatic arrest in Imenti Central in late 2023 that set the stage for her final exit. Mwangaza was bundled into a police vehicle and driven away for allegedly attending a band Okolea program meeting, just days after then Interior CS Professor Kithure Kindiki outlawed the initiative. The ban followed chaos at one of her events, where angry residents burned mattresses she had donated and slaughtered a cow meant for a needy family.
Na kama kuna mtu wa kuuliza wa kwanza, ni askari wa mchana na askari wa usiku.
But the turning point in her downfall came with the chilling murder of Bernard Muthiani, a blogger critical of her administration. His gruesome killing sent shockwaves across the county. Beyond being under intense security surveillance, Mwangaza faced accusations of orchestrating the heinous act, plunging her leadership into deeper turmoil. Her final impeachment push was the proverbial last straw, triggering the dramatic downfall of former Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza. The Senate upheld 3 charges: gross violation of the Constitution, gross misconduct, and abuse of office, sealing her fate.
The Senate has resolved to remove from office by impeachment Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, the governor of Meru County.
Mwangaza, who claimed powerful forces, including her former competitors, orchestrated her removal, alleging they couldn't stand a woman governor, initially secured a temporary reprieve that delayed the Senate's decision. That reprieve expired last Friday.
The Gazette notice dated 20th August, published on 21st August 2024, is affirmed.
Her deputy, with whom she had frequent clashes, has now taken over as the 4th governor of Meru County.
When you see a Meru man getting overwhelmed with emotions, it has not been easy.
I, Honorable Isaac Mutuma Ntwadingia,
Mwangaza, a Makerere-trained human resource manager and self-proclaimed bishop, was ultimately unable to withstand the political forces that led to her downfall. Before rising to governor, she served as Meru's 2nd woman representative from 2017 to 2022, winning on an independent ticket. Now she insists she will appeal her removal while also distancing herself from the ruling UDA party. Emmanuel Toh, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Well, there you have the full story on what has been going down in Meru. But I don't know what to think about this story. I want you to come and tell me, or rather in the comment section, if you're in no capacity maybe to join me in the studio, you can still engage with me in the comment section. Help me understand, is this triumph for the people of Meru? Yes, of course, these wrangles have denied them services for the past 2.5 years, as since the elections. The wrangles began immediately, less than 2 years after the elections. And, it has been push and pull in the leadership of the county, impeachment motions in county government, county parliament, county assembly rather, to Senate and back the first impeachment motion. Then the same process, second impeachment motion, then the third round, which was passed by the senators in Nairobi. Then she went to the courts until last week, I guess. Last week, the courts upheld the impeachment, and that signaled a green flag for the county to go on with swearing in her deputy. But Tunei Mohamud says huyo mama ameteseka sana. So I don't know what to think. Are these forces trying to sabotage her because she's a woman? And this of course this allows for women. We've been lobbying for more and more spaces for women in leadership, for women at the table, and this is the highest number of governors we've ever had since the start of devolution. We've gone for 3 elections so far under the 2010 Constitution, and honestly, they had formed a caucus for women governors called the G7. Kawira Mwangaza was part of it. Now I guess they're going to have to rebrand to G6 since Kawira is no longer governor, and now we have Governor Mutuma, who is, of course, a man. But, I want you to come in and have this discussion with me. Tell me what you think. As I wait for you, I'm just going to be rolling on the rest of the stories. And as I wait for you, hopefully you will join me for this discussion. But anyway, it's been 2.5 years since our last election. Actually, we've hit the midterm of this term, 2022, 2027. So the Ruto administration has done half of his first term in office, and we're just taking stock of how they've performed and those promises that they gave us on the campaign trail. Kenyans were really optimistic about them, about Ruto and his hustler narrative, and especially poor Kenyans who he was lobbying for. He promised us a lot of things, and his campaign slogans were rallied around Mama Mboga and Mtu Boda Boda, and the poor in society, or rather the have-nots, or the underprivileged. Those are the people he promised to lobby for. But 2.5 years down the line, what do the lives of these people look like? Do they feel like the economy has eased up a bit? The politics of Ruto so far, are they still pro-people? Are they pro-people? The policies that he's enacting, do they have an impact on the people so far? We are taking stock of that, and even as I wait for you to join me in the conversation, just continuing to to let you in on some of these conversations. So I'm going to send the link once more before I play the next bite. I'm going to send the link out once more. Sorry for that. Hopefully you are going to join me. I can see Furaha Badi somewhere in the comment section. Hopefully she's going to show up. She's waving. Hopefully I should wave back to her. But the link is out there for her. But okay, so as we wait, I'm going to play this bite. It's now. Just a moment. There.
Now let's take a look at the cost of living in numbers. Despite government data indicating a drop in the price of key commodities, millions of Kenyans continue to struggle. With 4 in every 10 earning less than 150 shillings a day, poverty levels are deepening. Economic experts warn that living conditions have worsened over the past 2 years, surpassing even the hardships of the COVID-19 pandemic. Jimmy Mbogo has more.
Just 2.5 years into the Kenya Kwanza administration, more Kenyans have fallen below the poverty line, worse off than during the COVID-19 pandemic. Economic experts attribute this to the rising payroll deduction, soaring utility costs, and a shrinking job market. According to experts, millions of Kenyans in urban centers cannot afford to spend 266 shillings a day, an equivalent of 8,006 shillings a month, while those in rural centers cannot afford to spend 133 shillings per day, an equivalent of 4,003 shillings a month.
Incomes have not improved. The latest report from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics suggests and indicates actually that you have more people in poverty than you had. In fact, we seem to have gone to the early 2000 kind of numbers. The number of people who are reporting that they are losing jobs, they've lost jobs, they're trying. So, and then add the taxation regimes and the policies that have been put in place the last 2 years. Yeah. That has just, when you look at your pay slip, you're not only earning less because your salary has not been improved, but you're even earning less because then you have more taxes.
If you also look at poverty levels, those have actually gone up. So the current poverty level is 39%. So there are about 20 million Kenyans who are living below the poverty line. The other macro indicators is obviously the employment levels. I don't have the actual figures, but when you just compare all those, it tells you that yes, whereas the movement in terms of prices of goods and services has gone down, inflation has slightly gone down, that purchasing power has been affected.
These realities are now forcing Kenyans to turn to short-term credit facilities to maintain their livelihoods. According to the recently released Tala March Money report, there has been a 19% jump in the number of Kenyans seeking credit facilities to survive. The report further shows that food, rent, education, and utilities are the main drivers of Kenya's indebtedness.
If you think about it, if a customer has been cutting down on their basic expenses for the last 2 years, as we know from the report, there's probably nothing else left to be cutting down. And now that resulted in a new trend that we were seeing for the first time, which is actually a 19 percentage point jump in customers saying they will borrow more.
So what has happened is obviously the economic situation in our country has been declining at a macro level. As a result of that, the consumer will obviously then also have an economic challenge.
Despite the government's efforts to lower inflation over the past 2 years, leading to reduced prices for commodities, experts argue that without improving consumers' purchasing power, the impact remains minimal. The data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics shows that inflation has dropped from 8.5% in August 2022 to around 3% over the past 2 years. However, experts warn that this decline doesn't necessarily mean a lower cost of living.
So we are dealing with compounded effects of inflation, so that then the cost of goods and services has been going up. It's only that last year it went up by just 3%. It went up slower than it did the previous years. That's what those numbers mean. But remember, I've just told you that if your income has not improved, you still are getting 200 shillings in a day. But now the amount of money you need to spend to buy goods and services, which perhaps you spent 100 shillings the previous year, now you need to spend 110. It means since your income has not gone up, you're having to part with more to get the same product.
Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
There you have it. That's the economic scorecard of how he's performed, and the baseline is Kenyans are losing jobs, people are shutting down businesses, and these are not just statistics. This is the real situation on the ground, and any Kenyan who is in Kenya right now. The average Kenyan will tell you how tough things are at the moment. People are losing jobs, businesses are shutting down, especially with the hike in taxes, making the business environment really difficult. And, things are thick. And, that's why last year there was the uprising, and, Kenyans were disgruntled with how the government is it's running its affairs, and how it's imposing itself on the people. And there was a lot of impunity, and I think that to some degree has gone down since, but still the economic situation is not really looking good. But I just want you to come into the conversation and tell me how things are looking from where you are, how things are looking for you personally, and for the world around you. Is this government, is it working for you? What is happening? You come into the studio and tell me. I'm still here. I'm just going to take a few comments, then we'll take a look at the political scorecard, midterm, Ruto's administration, how he's performed politically. There have been events that have shaken his administration a bit and put his leadership to test. Those as a politician is politics is something that you're always going to have to deal with from time to time. I mean, it's the job. It's your job. It comes with it. You're always going to be fighting unseen and seen forces, trying to calm some political turbulence. So we're going to just look at that as I continue to wait for you in the studio, but I'm going to take a few comments. So Douglas Kibogong, who says, hi, my namesake right there. Hello to you too, Douglas Kibogong. Awesome says, where is Abel Oriri? I have a question for him. There's something I did not understand yesterday while making his submission about the two generals he spoke to about why the president of the United States could not visit Kenya or Canada. Well, I wasn't here yesterday, but hopefully he's watching and he's gotten your question. And if he shows up, maybe I'll just find a spot for it and pop it up so that he can respond to you. I wasn't here. I don't know the context of that, but if he shows up, then probably he will paint a picture. But that's awesome in the comments, posing that to specifically Lala, also goes by Abel Oriri. Then Douglas, Douglas Kibogong, says payslip ndio nini. Okay, so I'm still waiting for you in the studio, and as I do that, I will be playing another bite. We take stock of Ruto's political scorecard. So far, what his leadership has been like politically. We can all agree that he's doing poorly economically, unless you are a really privileged Kenyan living way above the poverty line. But for most Kenyans, it's Kenyans are just trying to juggle. He's been reading pay slips, especially the middle class. I think the middle class are taking the brunt. But you people decided that you wanted a Robin Hood. But apparently he tried to go in pursuit of the filthy rich in our society. That proved difficult. The rich will always find a way out. So ultimately, he has to read someone. But anyway, that's a conversation that I want you people to come in, but you people are not coming in. If you people don't show up, I'll have to close at the end of my ranting. So I'm still waiting. The link is out. I'll still be waiting. Continue to share the video out. Press like if you haven't, and subscribe as usual. My poll question is still out. Is impeachment more about settling political scores than it is about ensuring accountability? 23 votes so far. 83% of those who voted say yes. 17% say no. So in the meantime, let's have a look at this.
After his record-setting victory in 2022, President William Ruto was seen by many as as the smartest politician in the country. But suddenly things have taken a turn in his governance. This is a special report that was prepared by David Mudoka. Let's have a look.
Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya.
William Kipchirchir Samoei Arap Ruto rose to power in September 2022 against all odds.
Republic of Kenya.
His unlikely triumph earned him multiple accolades, with many seeing him as the smartest political chess master in the country.
On the first set,
exactly 2.5 years since assuming power, Ruto's political acumen has been put to test on several occasions. The first test came just 6 months after Ruto took the oath of office in the form of nationwide demonstrations led by the opposition over the high cost of living. Lives were lost, property destroyed, and livelihoods disrupted in the protests that lasted 5 months. To pacify the demonstrators, President Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga secretly met in Mombasa and agreed to form the National Dialogue Committee that was chaired by Kikuyu MP Kimani Ichung'wah and Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka. The committee held a series of meetings to discuss the concerns raised by the opposition and ultimately came up with a report with recommendations on how to lower the cost of living, how to solve the unemployment crisis, and how to expand the executive by creating the offices of Prime Minister and Leader of Official Opposition in November 2023.
It was basically an attempt to not to accommodate, but to hold the opposition from continuing with the protests. Yeah, you're right. It's to buy time, but not necessarily to buy time, but to ensure that they have no reason to go to the streets. Remember the time for negotiating, they could not go to the streets. And after the negotiation, the strategy was to keep it in cold storage so that they cannot, they have something they are waiting for.
Many young Kenyans, however, saw the NADCO report as somewhat anticlimactic. And in June 2024, thousands of Gen Zs hit the streets, this time to demonstrate against the Finance Bill of 2024 that proposed the introduction of new taxes amid a high cost of living.
And that is what the Gen Zs were up against. That they were saying that it is the taxes that are heavy, and where the taxes are being used now is not understandable. For example, the housing scheme, which is basically the worst program in the history of the Republic.
Between June and August 2024, the Gen Zs took to the streets at least twice every week, with the climax of the Gen Z-led demonstrations being the occupation of Parliament on 25th June 2024. Again, lives were lost, with the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights estimating that up to 60 young Kenyans, including Rex Kanyike Masai, were killed, while 85 more were abducted, with over 20 others still missing hitherto.
Since independence, and I would say since the Mau Mau, the rise of the Gen Z was the greatest challenge to the civilian state in Kenya. And it brought us very, very close to what was done in the 1950s, the state of emergency.
In July 2024, President William Ruto yielded to pressure and sent his entire cabinet packing, only sparing his then deputy Rigathi Gachagua and Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi.
I will immediately engage in extensive consultations across different sectors and political formations and other Kenyans both in public and private, with the aim of setting up a broad-based government.
I, John Badingongo.
Weeks later, President Ruto picked a new broad-based cabinet that included 4 allies of ODM leader Raila Odinga, an indication that President Ruto and Raila Odinga had buried the hatchet and agreed to work together. The political marriage was to be formalized months later.
Many Kenyans obviously see presidents succumbing to the Gen Z, making changes in the government, bringing this and that. That was the real play, was the fact that he needed to change the system as he organized for 2027. And therefore he was killing quite a number of birds, maybe not one, not 2 with one stone, but many with one stone.
But just as Ruto was warming up to Raila at the time, he and his then deputy Rigathi Gachagua appeared to be growing distant, with Gachagua on several occasions attacking the government.
If we agreed we shall do ABCD before we are elected, let's do it. If we agreed we shall not brutally evict innocent people, please let's not do it. If we agreed that we shall create a good business environment for people to do business, please let's not do it. If we agreed there shall be no abductions and extrajudicial killings, please let's be true to the people of Kenya.
In October 2024, the conflict appeared irreparable, and MPs and senators from Ruto's UDA party and Raila's ODM joined forces to send Gachagua home.
Wale watu wa ukabila, wa ufisadi, wale watu wa chuki, wale wa migawanyiko, wale wa mitego, wale wa mashares hawana nafasi ya kuhubiri chuki katika taifa letu la Kenya.
Against the backdrop of his historic impeachment, Gachagua launched a spirited fight in the corridors of justice to block his replacement.
It's my humble appeal that this honorable court does fight in my favor to issue the conservatory order on the basis that there is no clearance that has been issued by the IBC.
However, the High Court gave the green light for the appointment of Gachagua's replacement, the then Interior CS Professor Abraham Kithure Kindiki, who was sworn in at the KICC on 1st November 2024. The Gachagua impeachment led to discontent in his Mount Kenya backyard that had contributed immensely to Ruto's election as president in 2022.
Big blunder, having known the type of person the former deputy president is and why they brought him into the arrangement, and then cutting his feet barely a year or so into this arrangement.
I'm sure, if not President Ruto himself, his main advisors and veterans are literally asking, was this necessary? Because as they say, if it's working, don't fix it.
To lower the rise in political temperatures, President Ruto sought after his predecessor and boss of 10 years, Uhuru Kenyatta, who still viewed as the region's kingpin for support. The meeting between the two political friends turned foes took place at Uhuru's rural Ishaweri home. Weeks later, Ruto appointed 3 new cabinet secretaries, all from the Mount Kenya region.
There's almost always political settlement between the elites. Almost always. They don't like to hurt each other. They try their best not to hurt each other. They will do things that will leave ordinary people hurting each other, but they do not. They try their best not to hurt each other.
At the same time, the bond between Ruto and Raila had grown stronger, with Ruto supporting Raila's quest to become the African Union Commission chairperson. Parliament records show that the Ruto government spent over 500 million shillings on Raila's AUC bid that never materialized after Raila in February 2025 lost the seat to Djibouti's long-serving Foreign Affairs Minister Mahmoud Ali Yusuf. The bruising loss presented a make-or-break moment for Ruto and Raila.
the party chairs and the secretary generals to join in.
Many thought Ruto and Raila would part ways, but the two opted to formalize their political marriage instead.
Mimi sijaenda kwa Ruto. Ruto amekuja kwangu. Mimi nimesema mimi nibaki, msimamo yangu haijabadilika.
Tumekubaliana kama viongozi wa Kenya ya kwamba tuache ukabila, tuache chuki, tuache migawanyiko, tuache ubaguzi. Kenya ni moja.
With Raila in his fold, Ruto appears confident of political stability until 2027.
The Kenya Kwanza, as Ruto had constituted it by the 13th of September 2022, is gone with the wind. And nobody is at ease anymore. Things seems to have fallen apart in Kenya Kwanza. The center is not holding, and you cannot guarantee total stability.
However, many wait to see whether the deal will last up to 2027, when Kenyans will go back to the ballot and beyond.
Raila is buying time and is praying God that 2027 is here. So one can predict that between October 2026 and January, February 2027, Raila will either bolt out of the government or be cooperated into the opposition. I have my great doubt, and again, you can hold me on this, that Raila will not be in the ODM-UDA coalition. That you can take the bank.
If the political events of the first half of President William Ruto's first term in office are anything to go by, then more political hurdles are likely to come in Ruto's way in the remaining 2.5 years in office. Kenyans will be watching closely to see how the president will maneuver past the hurdles before making a choice as to whether to re-elect him or send him packing. David Muthoka, NTV, Nairobi.
Well, there you have it. Quite a comprehensive and incisive story there done by NTV on the political landscape, everything that has been happening since 2022, the protests, and the resolutions that came subsequently after those protests. There was the NADCO that didn't materialize into really anything for Kenyans, and last year, fresh protests, then bread-based government of national unity, MOU, whatever they chose to call it. But with me, I have Lala, who will help me dive into these stories. Tell me what he thinks. I don't know if you've been watching, but hello, Lala.
Hi, Douglas. I don't think I know enough. I have not been watching, so maybe you could brief me a little bit.
Okay. Okay. So there are a number of things that have been happening as usual, but today, this story around Meru County government, I'm sure you've seen that a couple of times before. There's the first impeachment, second impeachment, then the third impeachment, which was upheld by the Senate. She went to court, and sometime around last week, I guess, the court upheld the impeachment. So that was like a way forward for the county to swear in her deputy, who was sworn in today. by the county. So my conversation around that, was just wondering, was this malicious, or is it a good tool for accountability? We've seen this impeachment being weaponized to settle political scores. I just wanted to know, I just want actually to hear from you what you think about this whole thing. Her impeachment, she has really fought. Fighting 3 impeachments is not easy. It's not as a mean feat. And on the story that I've just played, I don't know if you've caught a bit of it. Ruto's administration has hit 2.5 years. We are midterm. This first term of the administration, we were just taking stock of how they've performed. So I don't know what you think from where you sit.
Douglas, I would say that I'm quite ignorant of the Meru politics. But one thing I do know is that the side with the bigger problem is not that whatever her name is, Mwangaza and team. I think the other side has got a major problem, and that is, I think they want to keep the status quo where those in power keep doing what they're doing, looting and enjoying the benefits of. So I think it's somebody who came in as a provocateur. She's not one of the smartest people in terms of she's handling things, but I think her issues are probably the least of the issues that we have. In fact, I would think that she is somebody who is just, give you an example of what tend to happen is if you are a teacher of a kindergarten or a primary school, in your class there are the crafty kids that are they know how to manipulate others, they beat others, they are bad, but the teacher does not even know. You see, when you are looking at the board and writing, and that bad kid will hit the good one, pop. And when the teacher turns around, he's very silent, very quiet, as if nothing happened. And then you keep repeating yourself after a while. Then all of a sudden, the good child starts fighting. And when the teacher looks back, the good child is the one who is in trouble. The troublemaker is never caught because they are street smart. They're wise. They know how to use the moment for their own interest. And I think Kenyans have pros, people who have been there, they've done it. And what they do is they want to get rid of somebody who is messing with them. So they make sure that they do whatever it takes to make sure that that person appears to be the bad one, especially if that good one, or supposedly not so bad, is naive, because maybe this person will disclose what they are trying to do. That's what I think of Meru politics. I love Meru. I've been there. I did my pastoral care practice in Meru town, and I love Meru. I just love the place. I love the people. But what we are seeing here, to me, I think is just an iota. And I don't think that it's a decoy of the real problem that we have in Kenya. So now let's talk about Ruto. Just today, I was thinking of what ails us. what the problem really is. And I thought about even the colonizers, how Africans are poor, yet there's a group of people, the foreigners that exploit African resources. They seem to be doing just fine. And they're doing fine because we don't know how to protect what we have. So we are busy talking and walking outside of the powers, okay? They're busy doing things. They're exporting stuff. You see them enjoying things in the West, and you and I, we are on the outside. And that's where Africans are being. Africans are meant to be on the outside. And if we don't do anything, we may never go on the inside. We were told so many vijana, baada ya kazi, baada ya masomo, mtapata kazi nzuri sana. Okay, we have gone to school, but education was just to bring us to a certain level, and we can't penetrate that space. And that space is protected. It's protected by both national interest and international interest. They want to keep you and I outside of that perimeter. So they would strengthen and support anyone that would protect that line of defense. Okay. And so we continue to be poor. We continue to suffer. We continue to be told one thing, but at the end of the day, your papers are just like a piece of, toilet paper, your academic papers, because if they can't change your life, they can't do much, then what good are they for? So looking at Ruto's government is a testament of that fact that these people are there to stop you and me from gaining, certain ground so that we can be on the inside and change things. And that's why it is important for us not just to talk, but really talk of substance. So when we talk about the Meru and others, let us not be sidetracked, because enemies of us, enemies of Africa, enemies of our progress, our development, will make sure that that inner core is kept, untouched. And when it's untouched, then things stay the same. Your resources go to the right place. You're supposed to grow cash crop, which you can't change your life. It's supposed to go there to feed them, and that is the what I call the plantation mentality. That's our jobs. We are not supposed to think. We are supposed to be seen. So when we are discussing some of these things, I want us not to be, we can easily get into this anger, this rage that really allow us just to stay here, because anger is an emotional reaction that really bypasses some of our cognitive abilities. So we don't think ahead. We only think here. We only think of Ruto, what is done, not thinking about how do we move from here to the next stage? What do we do up to this moment? And let me say this, no, I didn't directly answer your question, but let me say this, that the way things are going with Ruto regime, first of all, politics has taken center stage. Development is out. We don't know. I don't know when was the last time I heard of an economic policy conference. When's the last time I heard where we are and where we are going to, or what we are doing to get there? I haven't been told of a program that incorporates youth and women and everybody else so that we can be able to compete even with our neighbors. With all we hear is politics. All we discuss is politics. When is Ruto? Is mealtime? And it's because it's all by design, so that you and I stay disengaged, angry and upset and shouting, yet the people who matter keep battering. We had a teacher in Maseno called Mr. Bolivar. He said people who matter are people who batter. If you don't batter, then you don't matter. And it's us who don't matter. So 2 years is a sad story when nothing has been achieved. Practically nothing has been achieved. Okay. So to even measure what has been done, I don't want to talk about it because there's really nothing unless we live in another world. So to me, the day Ruto disappears, the better for us. But not just disappearing, because I don't think there's anything in place. There's whoever comes in may end up doing exactly the same thing as Ruto. When people have been disorganized, people are so suspicious, because right now I don't know the truth and lies are no longer, able to separate. People are very sensationalizing things to the point where you don't know. People don't check facts. We only go by what we think, and actually Ruto thrive on that because he knows things to be said, and he doesn't really care. He doesn't do anything else because people are talking. Okay, so I think it's better for us to kind of step back sometime and really think and really come up with ideas, proposal, critiques, so that we can separate these tares from chaff. We can know the truth and talk about truth and see where the truth can take us. Because we are sometimes chasing a rainbow when facts and truth are not even there. So I don't know what to say, Douglas, when it comes to the midterm, what do you call it, of Ruto, because practically nothing has been done. Nothing. But the sad thing is on the other side too, there's a lot of incoherence. The people are not really together, except for one thing: Ruto must go, and that can't be the only way forward. Ruto must go. A lot of times people come together because of one common enemy, but then when you take that enemy away, they fight each other. And we see that all happening over and over and over again. So let us come up with something that we can defend, we can protect, we can promote. Let us give ourselves a future, which nobody else is going to give to us except for ourselves. So that's my long, windy answer to simple question that you raised. Okay, back to you.
Long whiny. Okay, so but I have a question for you. So you've said even if we do away with Ruto, the next person who comes is still going to do the same things. And the last time we were having a conversation with you, I told you that the problems that we are talking about today weren't necessarily created by Ruto. Okay, he has created new problems, the housing levy and this SHA-SHI thing, and it's going to just create a whole new other problem in future. But my question still is, it's the system that is the problem. Do you think that it's the only way to move the country forward in a better Kenya is to just bring down that system? And number two, I have Awesome in the comments who is asking you, Abel, really, do you see any difference with the ODM experts working with the UDA government as CSS? I believe you wanted to say us. Are they making a difference, or us, or the same? Yes, so if you could just respond to those two questions.
That's a good question to ask, because the answer is simple. I really don't know. And the reason why I don't know is because the atmosphere is very, very toxic. And when it's very toxic, it doesn't matter how good you are. Do we have good brain in that office called Mbadi? I know it's a great brain. The governor Oparanya. These are some of the best people we have. They're wonderful people. The problem that I have is the system itself. Okay. You see, sometimes it's like I'm a very good swimmer myself, Douglas. I'm a swimmer. Okay. I just come from Jamaica. I do scuba diving and everything else. But you see, if you put me at the shore of New York and tell me to swim to Africa, you know what? I will die, but I will not die very close to the water because I will die on the inside. So the difference between me and somebody who jump in and die are the same, only that a matter of time. So that to me is what I think. Are these people trying very hard to do the best thing they do? I'm sure they are trying. I really do, because if they don't, it's almost like their future is being set. I mean, the only thing that will save them is what they can show us they did. Okay, so for them, I got no problem with them, but because they're good people, but they are working a system that's terrible. That's why I say I don't really know if the new government comes in. I will probably select the same people to head those ministries, but the system they are working under. So it doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't work, because sometimes it is really the environment that you create for your people to work. That's what makes the big difference. Okay, and of course the experts and the environment, all of them working together, there is a goodwill that allows the nation to capture the essence of what they want, and people can rally together. And this thing, let me tell you this: we praise Kibaki. Kibaki was a great president. Yes, he was. But you see, Kibaki had the benefit of a healthy environment. And I remember I was here, okay? There was a goodwill that whatever Kibaki, actually Kenya was like Israel. You come in, if it's a loan, you get it with the lowest interest. If there's something donated, they give it to us. Whether it is for education, when that old man 73 went to school, there was the goodwill, and that goodwill translated with good governance into an economic growth. So this idea that if you get someone with a PhD called Ruto and others put in the government, you can run, no, if there is no goodwill of the people, nothing works. Okay, and that's why the job require all of us. We as Kenyans must help create a healthy environment. Okay, if we're still going to watch people steal, corrupt somebody to get a job, then it won't work. So all of us must actually, because some of us talk about this, but then out there we are bribing what? The police. We are sending a cow to somebody to give us a job, because that's the only thing we know. So we are raising children that all they know is corruption. They don't know that somebody can get a job without bribing. And that is sad, because I shared that with you yesterday. I don't think you were there. But you see, I live in the West, okay? And I can't bribe here. You try to bribe the police, you'll be gone. You can't give somebody to get. And when I fly into Kenya, it's a different ballgame. So I'm wondering, where is God? Why would we have an environment that is so toxic like this? How do we expect to survive when everything has to be tied to a bribe? Okay, so it doesn't matter which government, whether Ruto or no Ruto, we're going to have the same problem if we don't change our mind as Kenyans and embrace truth and ethics and good neighborliness with our families, and and those were all African ideas. Okay, you see, if you are a little older like me, who grew up in more traditional African setting, we had a spiritual life. A spiritual life meant that if you kill somebody in your village, the village has to be cleansed. Family, you got to pay for it. Sometimes we are banished from that village, okay? So everything had to have its consequence, okay? There was consequences for every action, good or bad. Okay, so people knew and they built it inside of them. Watu wana vile walikuwa wanafanya nini, wanakagua haya mambo. Then they told us to go to school. Tell Douglas to school asome. Anakuja anasema, I don't believe in those African stuff, okay? And those not religious, those are tradition. But actually they had a very strong ethical or moral direction for the people, okay? Families understood that very, very well. And so there was respect for elders, respect for the real laws in the villages, till colonialists and others, and learning, called education that I got. We are Christian now, so we use Christianity to destroy something very godly that was there. Yes, there are some things that needed to be taken out of our system, you know, where it is bad, but a lot of good things went through the window. So here we are with no culture, we're not restrained, we do anything, we don't even care. And this is, you know, when you see people getting killed and people just don't care, okay? A policeman shoots somebody, you know, and that's just the way things are. And here we are in a situation where people have died. We killed people because of our lies. We killed people because of our politics. But are we taking responsibility? No. We are still figuring out how to manipulate and train power. And this is why I think this system has to go. It has to go so that we can create or bring back a system that respects all of us, that obeys the Constitution, and even before the Constitution, the African Constitution, which was written in the heart and the mind of an African child. Okay, it is gone. And that has to come back, because if we don't have that one, we can't obey this one, which is supposed to be the best in the world. And it's almost like a joke, because if you can't obey it, if you can't use it, what good is it for? So that's what, you know, I'll stop there. I think my sister Farah is here. And back to you, Douglas.
Yes. Thank you, Lala, for that. And, you know, I've said time and again that the only way we are going to move into a Kenya that we love to talk about is by just, we have to find a way to bring this system down, because it's one that, you know, I think it's a legacy of colonialism, and it has just been morphing over and over. I don't know.
Douglas, let me say this. I love the idea of bringing it down. Down is really important. But then what we put in there, the dynamic equivalence, okay? That's where the fear of some of us are, because on the other side, are very disorganized. People are coming from an era of corruption that may not have been exposed well or trained well in ethical, you know, principles and others, to the point where, you know, I hate to talk about people like the Mushukis, but Mushukis seem to have had certain code that they live by, the Nyashais and others. They may have been too strict, like a chief, but you see, but that seems to be lacking in our time, where I don't know what we are missing. I think we need to just bring it down, but at the same time, what are we bringing up? Okay, or else we find ourselves in a situation that I shared with you here some time back after August 82. Okay, those young men in Nanyuki, okay, when they took power, I think they did. Well, they should have even said that 1 day or 2 days there was a new president. My friend told me they brought him a general's uniform. He was just a corporal, okay, but because he was the guy who went in to handle disarmed, or to the guy who was in charge of armory, when he was able to do that, they thought this guy is our general. He said, Abel, they brought me, the uniform, general's uniform, and I was scared even to touch it. Okay, and these are some of the things when people are not quite prepared on what they're doing. So that's one of my fears, but it shouldn't stop us from bringing down the system. Back to you.
Thank you, Lala, for that. Going to bring in Furabad. Hey, Furabad. Hey,
hello. Yeah, hello
hey,
everyone.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. I don't know whether to start from where I found Lala, or to go to the topics that I see scrolling down here. I was having issues with the internet, so I haven't really followed so much, except the last bit I've had him speaking. So okay, let me start with the scrolling topics.
However you.
Yeah.
Okay. Pardon?
Yeah. I'll just start wherever, and then I'll join the dots however which way I want.
Right.
The impeachment of Kawira Mwangaza, she was third time unlucky, but I think she put on a good fight, and as much as we want impeachments to count, you can see even the celebration, even the reactions, the deputy speaker, you get a sense of this was more political than it was legal or issue-based. So I don't know. She wants to appeal. I don't know how far that will go, because from the way things look, I think she got away the other times because I think she had the right political support. Now that it was no longer there, she couldn't make it. So, and people talk about also the cultural sense that exists in Meru in terms of female leadership. So I don't know how much all that played out, but all I know is that when I looked at the swearing in today and the celebration, and the team that was there, the people she had beat during the contest, I got the sense that there could have been one or two things that they were arguing about or in contention, but I think it was more political than anything else. That's just my take based on also the previous impeachments that took place and how she was able to maneuver, albeit with the help of political leanings. So it's sad in a way, because I think devolution is one of the things that could help us to get away from all the concentration at the national government that sometimes leaves the areas underdeveloped, and makes us want to beg for help or for development at State House, which shouldn't happen, especially if money is dispersed correctly and if it is used correctly. The more that happens, I think the more the central national government will have less and less touch. I think that's why sometimes they refuse to let the funds flow, because if you have several governors who are working well and they have enough money, then what is your role as a president? Will the people of that county whose governor is working very well, they might not feel your weight as the president because they have their own small president within their county and everything is working for them. And as I wind up on that issue of the impeachment, I also managed to watch the Public Accounts Committee. I think it was Waiguru was before that committee. And, you know, she basically said that, you know, the budgets that they work with, sometimes the stalled projects and all these things we see, it's because of the political pressure. That, you know, if you don't please the MCAs, then you don't stand a chance to finish your term, to complete your term. They can rally together to oust you. And now, and the MCAs, when you tell them that rather than fund one project and complete, you're funding several projects, and some of them are rollovers. So you're funding this to the tune of 20%, another one to the tune of 40%, 30%. So in essence, none of the projects will be complete. And she actually said that, you know, the MCAs will say that, you know, just do it because I also want to please my people. So even if we know that we are not funding this, we've not put enough funds for this project to complete, let them just see a market coming up. Let them see a borehole being sunk. Let them see, you know, she was genuine enough. In fact, the chairperson, Moses Kajwang, so, you know, it's sad, but she was like, you know, it's good you are saying this, you know, honestly. And if that is the case, then she is busy as a governor trying to please the county assembly, and the county assembly are fooling the people on the ground, you know, that in my ward, you see, you know, the market is coming up. Then again, let's now go blame the governor or the National Assembly that, you know, we don't have enough money to finish these projects, when they actually engineered it to be like that. And you know, this is coming on the backdrop of an impeachment, and you're wondering how much of what she was saying could have played in Kawira Mwangaza's case. And then the irony of it all is that this is one Waiguru, you know, who had several scandals, who survived an impeachment herself. And she ran against none other than Martha Karua. And this is the same person whom, you know, was Baba's running mate. We thought as women, you know, we would get the female vote. And also based on Martha Karua's, you know, her career path, you know, how she has stood firm. Oh, there's that one hitch they keep on saying about her helping Kibaki to be sworn in at night. But over the years, she has tried to explain that at that time, she didn't know exactly what was, you know, the machinations that were behind the scenes. And she thought that, you know, what she was seeing, that was the truth. So I can give a benefit of doubt, because everything else, you know, walking out on Moi, walking out of that Kibaki government when she realized that, you know, they are not, again, going on the same path. So I can see that, you know, there's a sense of integrity. So you see, as Kenyans, you know, we people couldn't vote for Martha, and you know, they voted for Waiguru as a governor. So in that sense, again, it comes back to us as our choices. And the one thing that came out of that when I listened is that, you know, Sifuna was categorical that they as Senate, they have tried sometimes to help the governors, but the governors also want direct access to State House. And he told the governor to her face that you are the council, the chair of governors. And rather than bet on us as the Constitution expects that the Senate is the one that is going to oversee and it's going to help the county governments, but you want a direct access to the president, and all of a sudden we see you meeting him in State House and you come out with deals that are not anchored anywhere. And so there's a sense in which now I'm coming to that point, which I found you, that's when I came in and I found in you and Lala talking about structures. If indeed, Senate is supposed to be checking and, working for the county government as well, you see, there's no reason for a governor to want to work with the executive, because you are a president in your own right, in your county. All you need from that national government is your revenue allocation, of all the devolved functions. And then now you have your mandate to do what is right, to work for the people, not to bow to these pressures of the MCAs, because apparently that is also something that came out strongly, that, you have to please them. There's a lot of political pressure from them, so that if they feel you're not bowing to their whims, then they can rally up and gang up and impeach you. So the systems have to work, so much so that it doesn't matter who comes there. This rule of law that we keep on talking about. I'm glad Lala mentioned the late Michuki, because there was a time, those vehicles, how they used to be filled up until people are hanging on the doors. And ukiingia tu kwa gari hivi, and there are 2 seats, and those 2 seats are already taken, because the aisle is going to be so packed, you choose to go in between these 2 people who are seated. Unasimama katikati yao, so that, your rear is just iko mbele yao. And then so that, you'd rather go there than the aisle where you're going to be so many, so packed, and then up to people hanging to the door. I believe over time, we are back to maybe excess in a vehicle, but kuna labda wanajaribu wanaweka sambaza, it has never gone back to how it used to be, because Michuki stood firm and said, okay, the matatus have boycotted. Okay, so be it. People are walking to town. They walked a number of days, but in the end, there were belts. There were no excess in PSV vehicles. So there's a sense in which you feel that it is possible. Those glimpses of those times, immediately after that 2002, what Lala talked about, the right environment, people were we had guts. Police couldn't take bribes, because there were actually citizen arrests. They tried to pick this money in the CBD, away from these stages where they normally collect them. But, we had people like Captain Sang looking out for them, and, nobody could take those bribes. People got afraid. But we've gone back on those gains, because, again, like that, the environment changed. So if you look at also one last example I have of when it has really, really worked for us, growing up in Nairobi, some people will not know how the city council then was really working in terms of collecting garbage weekly, clean towns, city hospitals, county hospitals working for you, the lights, everything, everything worked at some point in time. And then it got so bad But I remember Gakuo, the late Gakuo, and he tried to make the city green, and you couldn't spit. You couldn't spit in town. Yeah, I experienced that time when they were collecting all the street children and putting them into homes, and Nairobi was clean once again, and it was getting green, and you couldn't spit on the ground. You would get arrested. So that just shows that this it has gotten so bad that we feel like, will it ever work? It can work. It can work. People have shown us that, you know, if you get the right people and you put in the correct systems, you know, it can work. Getting there is, I think, the toughest. How to get there is tough, but if we get a good number of integral people, it can work, because you know, you get a sense in which a few people can make it happen. It didn't take the whole, not everybody was on board during the town clerk's time, but being the one person who stood firm, you know, he managed to straighten something, and we could see it. And that is replicated in the examples that we are giving. So if it can work, if we get a good number of few people who are integral, then it can work. So we are actually saying that our greatest monster is corruption. Yeah, because, you know, what happens is sometimes you can't get the people that you want, these integral people, because the environment of corruption will not allow you. Somebody will, you know, bribe their way or maneuver their way into leadership when they're not even supposed to be there in the first place. So again, we go back to this monster of corruption. So if we can get a few integral people who are ready to fight this monster that is corruption, then there is hope.
Okay. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that lengthy submission, and you know, I agree with you totally. You know, we've had, I think we've had, we can handpick a few leaders, or rather ministers, you know, in this past few years, who've been a force for good, and you know, they've done some good, but okay, in my opinion, it takes the goodwill of whoever is at the top. You know, he sets the tone. And we have Awesome in the comments who is saying the problem in Kenya is not one individual, but all of us. We have something known as over expectations. We think we can overtake a country like the US, which has been in existence for over 200 years. Okay, I have so many questions for that. I don't really think that we want to overtake a country like America or China. And, you know, take Rwanda, for instance. Rwanda's economy is, you know, it's just a fraction of Kenya's economy. But, you know, Rwanda is a country that seems to know where it's headed. You know, it has systems that are working right now. They've really cut down the corruption in their country. Rwanda is now one of the least corrupt countries in Africa, and you know, it's a story that is really inspiring. And I think in a few years to come, you know, our leaders will be trooping to Rwanda for benchmarking. I don't know what you think, Lala.
Douglas, first of all, appreciate Furaha for that contribution. And just commenting on you, Douglas, what you're saying, you see, there's something, let me talk like a pastor, okay? When the members' children are sick, you know what? Members don't take those children to quacks on the streets. They'll take them to someone sitting somewhere in the corner somewhere with a little clinic there. They're looking for a hospital, a doctor with a good reputation. In other words, they're using their mind correctly to seek the best help for the children. Okay? When all of us go to church, okay, and we are looking for a pastor, perhaps depending on your theological persuasion, somebody well trained to be able to teach us the word of God. But you see, the same members will ask anybody volunteer to be with their children. Okay? So you want a trained pastor to take care of us adults, but our children, we want to send them to anybody. And the same is also true when you're sick. You just don't go to any doctor. You go for the best. So it seems as if we are smart people. We know what needs to be done. But then it seems as if certain times we become practically insane or crazy or whatever. We think that development will come just like that. Anyone can do it. We can elect anyone to lead us politically, not understanding that politics is the lead for any economic development. Whoever lead the politics set the tone. Okay, so if you go for a mediocre woman or man, expect to get the mediocre. Okay, and even going to church, we looking for somebody to entertain us, when actually you should go there because you're looking for somebody who can challenge you, who can help you see heaven and understand what you're doing, okay? In the light of what that faith believes in. So it is a choice that we have taken as Kenyans and mainly Africans. I don't know if it's a colonial issue that we have. Thank God for places like Rwanda, when they simply said, you know what, we got to get together. Nobody's going to save us. Let's do it. And Kagame has actually showed us that it can be done. He has his own issues, yes. But in terms of focusing on his country, to take care of his country, you know, the man is doing it. The young Traore come to power not knowing much, but he knew something, that you got to be honest, you got to be truthful, you got to fight corruption. And we are seeing the dividends, the benefits that has come to that nation, okay? Because they have goodwill of almost everywhere. I see people come from here just to go and see that land. They want to go and invest there. They want to move in there. And the young man is honest enough, is still not been pampered by power to lose that focus, and the economy is following. When you come to Kenya, we are talking, but when it comes to practice, what do? We still want to entertain some of these clowns, okay? We are still hoping that things will change when the indicators don't show it. History does not show where corrupt people have been successful, and yet we are protecting them. And you're raising our kids. What do we expect from them? Their examples are these people who don't know what they're doing. So the words from me, Douglas, is very clear. We reap the things we sow. If you're sowing this kind of mediocre, this type of practice, okay, that we see happening to us today, we clearly in trouble. Okay, so So comparing ourselves even to Rwanda, and even somebody said the U.S. has been there for a long time. I think I've not been reading some of the comments, there, and I know some of you have been asking me some questions here. The thing is, Kenya, we cannot compare even ourselves to the US and others. And the reason is there are certain aspirations that they maintained. Okay, they had their own issues, but there's something that was non-negotiable. They have kept them all this time, okay? Because they chose to remain united, just like the Traore and this body. This is what we want. This is our nation, going to be our nation. But here we are from day one. I think one of you asked the question whether we have got it wrong from day one. I think it's from day one from Kenyatta, okay? I'm sorry to use that reference, but clearly the Kenyatta sabotaged the process that was spearheaded by the entire group to make Kenya non-tribal, to kick out the white man, and to build a nation. Kenyatta mastered it. Nyerere, on the other hand, was able to stay true to the cause of freedom. And remember, these people also work under very, very hard circumstances. They didn't have the things we had, okay? For example, Tanzania at independence of Tanzania had only 26 college graduates. 26. And you know what kind of training they had then. Many of them went to study English or African culture, something to help maintain the white man in power. Okay? So they didn't have kind of education that we are exposed to. They were not found in Harvard. They were not in all these wonderful opportunities. So the country was starting from a very bad place. Kenya, with all these challenges, also coming from a very bad place. Okay, so unity was missed at that moment, at that point. So when we talk about comparing ourselves to these other people, yes, we can make some comparison, but clearly the problem has been corruption and colonial mentality, where we believe that things to be done, mzungu lazima afanye, ndiye anajua zaidi. Okay, if a mzungu is there to teach you, you feel like you have been privileged and you're honored. We don't value our own. There's a self-hatred, and that self-hatred allow us to accept anything when actually we should not. Okay, we have, honestly, we are the richest continent in terms of natural resources. When you live in the north, whether you're in Europe or in Asia, and some of these places, you know what they have cannot even be a half of what we have. Good climate, free sunlight, adequate rain, natural resources that we have been endured with so much, okay? Good weather, okay? Where we can land that we don't need manure to plant. So basically we have everything. We shouldn't even be getting anything from outside of the country. But you see here we are dependent on US aid. We got to bow down to somebody else when actually we should be developing our own research. Our institution, our universities and others should be doing research. Young people should be employed, doing some things, being more creative, because those young minds, those are the creative mind. But what do? They're on the street. They're back home with nothing to do. And then we expect this nation of ours to grow. It can't. So at the end of the day, it is you and me, young people especially, you got to fight for this land. Back to you. I don't want to dominate. Back to you, Douglas.
Thank you, Lala, for for that. I totally agree that it's up to us. We need to begin looking on the inside. In countries that have taken that initiative, I think we were once there, and Furaha has taken us back to a time when during Kibaki's time, and we were really doing some of radical reforms, just looking in and focusing on where we want to go. And I'm just hoping that we'll get leaders who have that kind of vision for our country. But before we wrap up that conversation and move on to the next one, maybe Furaha, I don't know if you have anything else to add in that conversation.
All I wanted to add is that this belief that we cannot be, let's not try to overtake the US because it took them 200 years. I agree with you, Douglas, that it's not about overtaking, it's about learning from the mistakes. I don't have to take 40 years the way you took. If I can see already what you did, I can jump on some of the challenges or some of the mishaps that you had out of, learning from you, so that I don't have to take the exact number of years that it took you to get there. Just the way, they have the tribe in Tanzania, they still rub sticks on stone to light a fire. But you see, I don't have to do that. I can strike a match. I can, click on a lighter and I get fire. So I don't have to go through all the details that you went through struggling to get where you are. If I know from your mistakes or from your challenges and from your successes and achievements, I can learn, and I want to go exactly where you've gone. I don't have to follow the trodden path that you took. I can pick the quick gains and use them to fast track, because if where I want to go, I know it, I don't have to take all my time going through every single step that everyone took. And you've given a good example of Rwanda. Rwanda is a small country. You go there, it's clean. Those who have gone there, I haven't been to Rwanda. But we have documentaries, we have reports, we have, people have gone there, and you can see that these things can be done. Just because somebody is at the helm who is responsible and is guiding his country towards that path, there are a lot of achievements. Lala has just mentioned Ibrahim Traore, and how he's really doing a lot for his country, such that even when he said, okay, we've taken the country, we need to go to an election, people are like, no, wait a minute. How is that democracy and the election going to work for us? It hasn't worked. So let's just stick with what is working for us for now. And I think that's where we have to believe in ourselves enough to make the changes that we want. Yeah, that tired slogan of be the change that you want to see. I think that's the task that we have to be keen on what we do, because as much as we say corruption, sometimes it's a struggle, Douglas, and this is where I want to end. It's a struggle because you're on the road, you're doing the right speed, your vehicle has no issues, and a policeman stops you. I am one of those people who struggle with, like wanting to give a bribe or giving a bribe on request. It's requested. I'm like, take me, you charge me with what you want to charge me, but I'm not giving you a cent. I'm not giving you a coin. This person wants to frustrate you. You're on a journey. You're heading, even for a funeral or a function that is on schedule. And this person wants to delay you, nitakupeleka kwa police station. And you think, if I go there, they might put trump up charges I might delay, 2 hours, 3 hours, and I might not get to where I want. So you're like, okay, so let me give them this coins so that I go. You see, those are some of the real scenarios that people experience. And the challenge is not even so much that, I can want to stick out, because there's a time it happened, we were a group, they took us to a police station and we said, we're going to sit out. There was no hurry. We said, we're just going to sit out. You just charge us, tell us what you found us with. We are ready to deal. But you see now, what will happen is that is a one-off. You standing your ground and not, it's a one-off. Everyone else, because of the inconvenience, says, okay, I don't like to give, but I don't have an option, and they give. So in the long run, these few people, now the exceptions, you're the one who seems like now hauna chako, because you don't have the environment, you don't have that support to be able to continue to do the right thing. We utafanya peke yako, but wewe ndio you'll end up like being a victim. It's like now you're the one who has done the wrong thing. So wewe ndio utachelewa huko, wewe ndio utawekwa huko. People will ask you, why didn't you just give the money na uendelee? But I'm like, I don't want to. Just the other day, even on cleanliness in the CBD or everywhere we live, you find that you don't want to throw something on the ground, because I remember just last month at the border on the Tanzanian side, a lady sold us bananas because we were a team. So you have to process your documents, all of you, before you can continue. So as we are waiting, this lady comes and sells bananas, but you peel anachukua hayo maganda. You peel it and anachukua hayo maganda. And she didn't want to leave that place until she's sure either you're carrying it, those bananas, you're going with them, or if you're eating them there, she'll only leave after she has picked all the peels, because she will be charged as akishikwa yeye atashtakiwa for garbage. And I remember that time when CBD was so clean, the county was about to introduce a scenario where both the hawker and the people who are purchasing would be arrested. And I knew that was going to work, because ukipatikana kama unanunua what is being hawked on the street, hapo imetandikwa hapo na wewe pia unanunua, you're also charged, apart from kukimbiza the hawker. So long as you do these things, they can work. So I think that's where I want to end this session, that we can borrow the good things that have happened elsewhere, and we can fast track. It doesn't have to take us hundreds of years when we know how they got there. Now that we know, we can do it faster.
I'd like to just add something there. Let me add something there. Thank you, Furaha. I think something I heard that Traore is doing that Gaddafi tried to do is try to make everyone in Burkina Faso co-owner of those natural resources. In other words, if a country has surplus or has a lot of the oil, like in Libya, every child born had a share into that economy. I think what we have done in the past is to disconnect our people from the land itself, from what they own, so that we are there, part of it, but it's almost we are witnessing, our nation run, but we are not part of it. I think disconnect has been one of the biggest challenge, because we don't feel like government represent us, belong to us. And so the young man, what he's been able to do is to feel connected. It's like he wants every Burkina Faso man, woman to feel connected when you have a stake in something, you tend to protect it. Even in your village, if you feel like this is your village, anybody throwing stuff, you tell them no, pick it up. Okay, so we are raising citizens that are not connected to the country itself. All we see is the people enjoying our nation. They come in to go to Mombasa to have this, and those supposed to be helping us connect are enjoying driving and flying and doing all these things. And for us, the only connection we have with the government is either we are being chased by some askaris, or we are paying taxes, okay, which we have got no say. When we elect our leaders, they don't allow those ones we have elected to take power. It's themselves. So I think there's a disconnect that is very serious, especially when it comes to Africa. And so somebody like Traore is doing the opposite. If you look at, let's say, a place like America, America belonged to the Native Americans. And of course, other co-owners of America are African Americans. Native Americans and African American. The Trump and everybody else are foreigners. They're just like all these illegals who came in. Many of them came just illegal because they were processed right there. That's why they have the Statue of Liberty, because they came with no papers, nothing. They came in here, they are processed inside America. So whatever they are doing is not what was done to them, okay? So America does not belong to Wazungus. America belongs to Native Americans and African Americans, because African Americans have got nowhere to go back to and say this is the grave of my grandfather, or my great-great-grandfather is just buried here. They have got no knowledge because they were forced to leave. So the only place they know is the US. But every white man, every white person can go back and take a flower to their great-great-great-great-great-fathers, mothers and others in either North Ireland, in Europe somewhere, in France somewhere, in Portugal somewhere. In other words, America doesn't belong to the white people. But when they came, they felt like they were coming to a land that they could feel free. They were coming from totalitarian government in Europe, okay? So they moved to America to find a place of freedom. So when they found land, they felt connected to it. And so they drew up the constitution to protect their interest. So there was that closeness, that connection they had with their land. On the other hand, for us, our land had been taken away from us, okay? And then what independence simply meant, it was supposed to be where we go back to what we knew. But then in the process, it was hijacked, that independence meant a system to maintain that which was already oppressing them. So the Africans simply took over the chairs, the seats of the colonizers. And that's how we started. And that was sort of a very good start, because these people betrayed us. So what I'm saying simply here is that if you want to be successful, you must connect the people, hook them up. Lazima watu wafanye usikie kwamba sisi ni wa Kenya, because I have something that can protect me. Right now, I'm sorry to say this, but there are some of us that only know the one that can protect them is their tribe, okay? They trust their tribe than the nation, and that is very sad, okay? They are much safer in where their tribal land than in Kenya itself, okay? That's very sad. We are supposed to be one, and that's the sad part, why I think the corruptions and the tribalism and others is really destroying us. When we have leaders whose agenda is simply to make sure that they only support those around them. In most cases, sometimes it's always their tribe, to become very, very tribal. And that's the tragedy of it all. But Kenya can be strong if we fight those vices, because they are the ones stopping us from that empowerment. We want to feel like I belong to Kenya. So if we do what even priorities are doing, we know we have oil, and that oil, we are part of it. We want to develop it. This is Kenya. This is our home, this is our land. That feeling has to be inculcated in all of us, so that we are not disconnected. Back to you, Douglas.
Thank you, Lala, for that addition to the discussion. And even as we move forward, talking about Rwanda and Africans believing in themselves, and just wanted us to shift our attention now to the broader East Africa and what has been happening in Eastern DRC and Rwanda, that volatile region. The conflicts, just something that we've been talking about. It's a story that we've been following up on as Sound Candid. We've had conversations about that conflict, and recently Rwanda's cut ties with Belgium. Let's just have a look at that, then come back and have that conversation.
Severed diplomatic ties with Belgium, accusing the European nation of interfering in its internal affairs. In a swift retaliatory move, Belgium has also cut ties with its former colony, escalating tensions amid the ongoing conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, Rwanda has ordered all the Belgian diplomats to leave the country within 48 hours, while Belgium has threatened to declare all Rwandan diplomats in its territory persona non grata. Gatete Njoroge has more.
Twarabihanangirije kuva kera, turaza kubihanangiriza n'ubu ngubu.
A day after President Paul Kagame issued a warning to Belgium over what he termed as a plan to divide them, Rwanda has gone forward and cut diplomatic ties with their former colonizer. In a statement shared by the Rwanda's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation on their X platform, President Paul Kagame's administration stated it had notified the government of Belgium of their decision to sever diplomatic relations with immediate effect. Rwanda attributed the decision to what they termed as Belgium's attempts to undermine Rwanda before and during the ongoing conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Rwanda accuses Belgium of taking sides in the conflict, which has displaced over 500,000 people since January, and mobilizing against its former colony in an attempt to destabilize the country and the region. In the statement, Rwanda directed all Belgian diplomats in Rwanda to leave the country within 48 hours and assured the Brussels administration of protection of the premises, property, and archives of the Belgian diplomatic mission in Kigali. In their response, Belgium Minister of Foreign Affairs Maxime Prevot stated that they regret the decision taken by Rwanda to cut off diplomatic relations. He further says that the action is disproportionate to the conflict at hand and only goes to show that Rwanda is not ready for dialogue to reach an amicable solution. Prevot categorically stated that they will take similar measures, declaring Rwanda's diplomats persona non grata and denouncing all bilateral cooperation agreements. A diplomatic spat that seems to have been fueled by Brussels' action to lead calls for European nations to sanction Rwanda over its alleged support for the M23 rebel group. The European Union has sanctioned 9 people and a gold refinery in connection to the conflict. The unprecedented diplomatic spat between the two nations could spell doom to peace efforts aimed at bringing to the negotiating table the warring parties and end a war that has claimed over 5,000 lives in the last 3 months. The M23 rebel group has so far captured Goma and Bukavu in eastern DR Congo since the start of the conflict, with talks lined up in Angola. DR Congo presidency spokesperson Tina Salama on Sunday stated that a government delegation will be in Angola on Tuesday for talks with M23. The rebel group has also sent a 5-member delegation to the talks, seeking to resolve the long-running conflict. Rwanda, which has been blamed for supporting M23, has vehemently denied the accusation. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Okay, okay, who thought that you would live to see an African country, cut ties with a European country? Your thoughts, I'll start with you for
It's interesting that when Rwanda cut ties, then they also, reacted. But what I know with foreign colonies, former colonialists, they're usually because of the nature of colonialism, it was for the benefit of the master. And even in staying back, it is usually still in the interest of the colonial master. So I think it is not the first time Rwanda is taking a very strong stance in regards to European countries or the whites, so to speak. I remember, I can't recall when that conference was, that was supposed to happen, I think in Germany. And it was, people were invited, and African countries were invited to that conference, and they were going to discuss, I think, green economy and also things to do with global warming. And Kagame refused to go because he was like, we're going to carry 40 plus presidents or leaders or dignitaries of 40 plus countries. They're going there in flights that are not our own. They're going to stay in that country, in hotels there. So all that money is going to remain in that country. If we are discussing things to do with our environment, and a majority of us are Africans, why can't it happen in an African country so that we also get all that benefit, all the dignitaries and where they're going to stay and the per diems and everything that they're going to use, whichever country that is going to host them in Africa, that country benefits rather than the European country where it was supposed to be held. About the conflict in Congo, my personal take is that I think Kagame has interests, whatever those interests are, but all that needs to happen is that when judgment or when negotiations are being made and revelations are being made, because I understand even our own president is being said to have interests in that country, Museveni the same. So when solutions are being made or peace is being discussed and this conflict is on the path of resolution, I think leanings, for or against are not going to add value. It is supposed to be very objective. Realities are supposed to be faced, because sometimes you're faulting me, but you also have your hand in the cookie jar. So I think that's where the hypocrisy comes in, and I think that's one of the things that Kagame is not going to take lightly. That the same forces or the same people who are faulting him, they have even bigger interest in that country or in the resources of that country more than him. So it could be a question of, I am a neighbor, my people are in that country, so even without wanting to be part of this, there's a way that I'm involved. Now my interests are also another issue. But you of the same or even worse interest in this stake, you're laying judgment and faulting these countries. So there's a sense in which the African countries, they need to have a say in what happens in Africa more than anybody else from outside has a say. You remember Traore, I keep using him as an example. He has banned they're no longer going to learn French as a language as an official language. They'll use it because it's already there, but haitafunzwa shuleni. They're no longer going to be teaching it in their schools, just because they're trying to reach out and find what adds value to them as a country. If maybe checking on some of I remember Lala mentioned it before, that you see in being colonized and being taken over, we lost a lot of our values and norms, the things that that kept us going. Our punishment and reward system was working very well at that time. Some of it is called barbaric, primitive, but by the lenses of the same people who will also render capital punishment. So how is that different from the people who used to be hanged, who used to be thrown into the forest? Is okay, you'll call this one barbaric, but it's just a modern way of throwing that person to the lions. Unaenda unampeleka kwa guillotine, you see. So there are a lot of things that we had as Africans that were valuable to us that we lost during some of these processes. There's a sense in which some leaders have tried to bring back some of the values. They've been overrun by time, but there are ways in which they can be incorporated into the modern system to continue to give us a sense of belonging, so that we might want to fault Kagame, but you see, the person whom we want to side with is also not for us. So you'd rather even have your own and see how you correct whatever is happening on the ground, rather than have all these interferences. Because for heaven's sake, if DRC has, some of the rarest minerals that are being used worldwide, if they are the ones who have 98% of that mineral, surely, they should be able to dictate who has, they should be able to dictate how that mineral leaves their country, who uses it, who gets it. So I think there's a sense in which I can understand where Kagame is coming from and wanting to make a statement so that we are also respected for who we are, as Africans.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you for that. Lala, just take it from there. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I appreciate Furaha for this insightful contribution. At the end of the day, it is really what each one of us is going to do. I think groupthink is a great idea, but unless each person, and even biblically, you see God when he's using a man or a woman, in most cases it starts with the man or the woman's perspective, their own person, okay? It confronted in their own ways. If it is repentance, you start with you, because you cannot give what you don't have. If you are not peaceful, you can't give peace. If you are corrupt, that's what you're going to give, okay? You can't dictate and tell us to be a great country. So at the end of the day, all of us must see, what we do. But I think Furaha mentioned something that is really a problem, which is easier for me because I live in an environment where I don't have to be confronted with what needs to be done. I remember refusing my brother, younger brother, to give because he had done nothing, these people, but they wanted the money. He ended up spending time in prison, in jail, because of refusing to give the funds. I tried to call all people I knew, magistrates, the lawyers, and all of them were just telling me, just give something. Can you imagine? Trying to use my influence to kind of intervene for him. He ended up basically serving it because I refused to do what these people wanted him to do. After they are the one who beat him up, fabricated some charges which are unlawful. So in a way, I feel bad for him because I made him suffer when actually, if he paid, he would have been out of it. But these are the hard things that Kenyans have to face, because you got to you face these challenges. But I believe that if all of us can take that step to demand or to say or to live with the creed that we believe in, I think we can shorten this this problem we have. And those who told us, I think somebody wrote that Kenya is still behind, that is the worst thing we can say. In other words, we are still evolving, we are still needing, and it doesn't happen that way. There are a lot of cultures that don't exist because of corruption and fights and wars. And so we don't want to go be there. We want to be the ones that use, as both of you stated, sister stated, that there are things that already are there. We don't have to invent the wheel. The systems are there that we can use to get where we are going. And we others have done it. Let's talk about the Japanese. There was a time Japanese were nobody in the US, early years. But what they did was they were learning, they were coping, whatever we want to call it, but they were learning the system, the US system, because their system, the modern economic system is based basically on the US. They were there learning. And then they went back, they replicated, exactly what was here in their own twist. In other words, they give their own Japanese, and they are not anywhere where they were before because they use the system. How about the Chinese? The same thing. They are the students in the US, every US institution. They are PhD student Chinese. You go there, they are everywhere. What did they do? They learned the system, took it back to China. And all of us now going to China because they learned from this system and took it over there. The Indians, the Silicon Valley in the US was filled with Indians, and of course Chinese and others. And what did they do? When life was rough in the US, they went back and created a Silicon Valley in India. Now people like Bill Gates, they are going to India now. They thought they would simply abandon and get back to the US. They don't want to go back to the US because they use the system for their own interest. So even us, we must follow the suit, or else we're gonna die. The slow death or the fast death, you wanna call it, when COVID, or Ebola and others, that's when we find ourselves vulnerable. Where are scientists? Where are institutions to save us? We are waiting for vaccines from the US, from other places. And the question is, can we do it? Yes, we can, because a lot of our researchers are the one working over here. There are many of our bright, young, male and female and male And if you look at pattern and different names, you find some of these major, research, they're African names, but they can't survive in Africa because the environment is not conducive, because they are not paid enough and they are not valued enough. And somebody said if Obama, was Kenyan, he could have maybe ended up being a teacher. He looked like he know how to talk. As I'm a teacher, some kind of school somewhere, and nobody would tap into his brain. Yeah? And we do that. We waste a lot of our mind, young people, because the environment is toxic. So Africa, we must think outside the box. Kenyans, we must. The answer is not in what Ruto will do or somebody else will do. It is what you yourself can do. So let's not allow obstacles to stop us as this artificial stuff, so that we just fold our hands and die, which actually happened a lot in history. There are cultures that were there, they're no longer there. Civilizations are there, they're no longer there. Wonderful things that happened in the past, they are not there. And it is because people either depended on somebody else. The Romans depended on who? On the Greeks. They were the custodians of knowledge and others, while them they were military guys, and you can't just keep fighting. You also need invention in fighting. So the Romans had to go down. Okay, so let us work on ourselves, and let's do what we can. Back to you, Douglas.
Yes, I think Lala. In addition to those countries that you've mentioned, one country that you forgot to mention was Singapore. We always use it as an example. African countries usually draw a lot of inspiration from it, because 60 years ago, Kenya was richer than Singapore. But today, I think Singapore is ranked as a high-income country, way up there. So, it's actually possible. Also, when someone talks about 200 years, you don't need 200 years to build systems that work for the people, to put money, to invest, the country's resources in the right avenues, in education, in healthcare, creating a business-friendly environment. You don't need 2 centuries to do that. You just need, a nation that is committed to move towards a certain direction. And, just like Lala said, we need those, nationalistic values, ingrained in our mind, so that we are a country that is committed to one common cause, and we that will set us on a path to self-actualization and achieving those visions that are already being set forward, because they're already there. We just lack leaders with that goodwill and a people that is committed towards achieving those things. But as I gear towards the end of our conversation, just going to be, yes, Lala.
Let me comment on Congo. Okay,
Okay.
Congo and Kagame, which is Rwanda. Does Kagame have interest in Congo? He has to have. If he doesn't have, he will be a leader. Okay, so he has to have an interest. Does Uganda have an interest? They gotta have an interest, because that's a border. And all the countries around there got interest. But you see, Congo has almost the whole world have an interest in Congo. So Congo issue is really complicated, because it has rare things that the world is looking for. Let me give Kenya a little bit of a history here. The Hiroshima bomb that was exploded to end the Second World War. Where did uranium that was used come from? It came from Congo. And let me also reveal something very, very interesting. The fight in during the Second World War had Congo at the center of that war. And this is the reason. If the war happened 2 years, ended 2 years after the bomb, actually Germany would have developed the nuclear capacity, and the world would have been a different place if Hitler had the bomb, nuclear bomb in his hand, because I don't think he would have stopped, he would have used it, okay? But he didn't. He didn't get it. He didn't get time to do that because the war ended. Something I was told, I cannot verify it, but military science and others know it. Okay, one of the things that had happened to Hitler is that he lost access to cobalt and other natural, resources needed to keep the war going, especially to build strong tanks and ships, because I think cobalt is an alloy that is added to I think chrome or something, I don't know, to make the ship strong. So by the time in the middle of the war, Hitler had no access to this mineral, and the only place that this mineral was at that moment was in Congo. So he was fighting hard to get into Congo, and so the US had to get that bomb working quickly to stop Hitler from getting into the cobalt, because if he did get into the mine in Congo, the whole war would have shifted, because he would have been able to build strong tanks and strong ships, because by that time, the ships and the tanks that he had were weak because they didn't have what required for them to be strong, okay? So that's something that has been suppressed. I was kind of shocked when I was told that aspect of history that is out there, okay? So Congo played a very significant role. So when Patrice Lumumba was killed, okay, because of natural resources, Africa has never been the same. That death of Patrice Lumumba is key to understanding African politics and African development and African, place in the world. So it's a very consequential death because of that land called Congo. So the interest in Congo is great, and a lot of people have it because Congo has, I think, about 70% of the world's, what do you call it? Coltan, or the other one used for military industries. Okay, that's another mineral, there, and plus others.
Coltan.
So it was coltan, coltan, yes.
And used for electronic devices,
electronic and all that stuff. Okay, so so Congo is rich. Okay, I think Dr. Arikana Kwao, whom I respect a lot, from Zimbabwe, the former ambassador to OAU ambassador in the US, AU ambassador in the US, stated that if Africa stops sending mineral or natural resources to Europe for 3 months, Europe would be a third world country. Only 3 months. That tells you how much is leaving the continent. But the only people that don't want to go there are the Africans. You try to cross over the Red Sea, you're drowned. But your minerals are flooding that market. And it's made the West, the Europe, rich. And I said here, like 6 months ago, I was in Vegas, and I went to Caesar's Palace Hotel, and a room a night, the most expensive one, was over $100,000. 100,000. We're talking over 10 million just one night. And whatever that wealth is coming from, let me propose, is coming from Africa. It's coming from us, okay? And we are poor, starving. So yes, there's an interest in Congo, and especially outside of Africa, to keep them rich here in the West. And this is why we must fight. This is why we must change our thinking, because the biggest war is the mind. It's the mind. When your mind is controlled, if you don't believe in yourself, that you can't build anything, you're dead. Back to you.
Thank you, Lala. And I agree that it all begins with the mind. But Africans who are dealt a good one with colonialism, and some of these beliefs are just being passed down generations, and it's interesting how, looking at it, how it's how it happens even in the world that we live in today, in our education system, in our homes, how that should I call it manipulation, or what is passed down to the next generation and the next generation. But anyway, I don't know, maybe you'll tell me in your final submissions what you think is the way out of that, our way to freedom. Before we do that, let me see if there is any comments worth a contribution, adding to that. Okay, Awesome was really negative today. Always what is, but today it's really extremely negative in the comments. Okay, but you were saying democracy is also something very expensive. I think most of us have not realized that. Okay, he had a question for you, Lala, previously. I don't know if I can find it. Maybe you can include it in your well, okay, it's long gone. But anyway, I think with that we've exhausted our discussion tonight. So I'm just going to hear your final takes. Just sum up everything, and as we wind up, I'll start with you, Fura.
Thank you. I think the submissions that have been, the input that has been given by Lala about, what is this interest in Africa? And you do realize whether it's the blood diamonds or now the variety of minerals that are in the DRC. I don't know whether it's because it's in the center of Africa, they got all the goodies right there at the center. And then there's also all these others in the peripheries, the gold in South Africa. And you remember how Ramaphosa was very categorical with Trump, because I think more and more we're beginning to realize, that save for the things that the foreigners or the Europeans, what they want from us is what we've got. They have no interest in us. It's what we have, what can benefit them. That's what is in it for them. And the more we are realizing that, we can control the world economy if we were to unite, if we were to have, not even unite in terms of have one big continent become one huge unit, but the unity of mind, the unity of purpose, that we can see that as neighbors, we have more together than, we have more when we are together than if we are apart. So I think there was a time, I think it's the late Gaddafi who was, credited for this, wanting to, the union of the Africa, just like to be United States of Africa, the way you have United States of America, you know. But it doesn't have to be like all the borders uniting and having United States and having one person heading all these states. I don't think it's that is the whole point. The whole point is that Africa needs to relook what you said, you know, the colonialism, it dealt us a very big blow. And we are healing. We are coming from that. In the process of healing, we need to be wise. We need to be sharp. We need to be focused. We need to be targeted. What do we want? Where people are going, Chinese are coming up, the Japanese are coming up, and Africa needs to come up so that they are also a force to reckon with. And given what we have, given what we know, given the kind of intellect that we possess, nobody is just going to tramp over us or just trash us or put us in the periphery, because we are also going to come with what we have on the table. And what we have is something huge. It is something that everyone wants a piece of. So long as there's the bigger African picture, and there's also as countries, once we strengthen our own countries so that we are not, there's no infighting, because it's difficult for you to forge ahead if you're not one. You know, post the genocide, you know, you're the only one who, if you're a foreigner, I remember my spouse, the time he went there, says you go there and you ask somebody, they don't want you to mention, you know, are you a Hutu? Are you no, we are Rwandans, we are Rwandese. So based on their experience. So I think that tightens it. If it tightens their unity, if every unit comes when they're already a force to reckon with, then our diversity can also be our strength. It doesn't have to be always negative that, you know, even in Kenya, if we come back to our country, our diversity should be also our strength, that you have your skill, I have my talent, you have your culture, and all these things are merging to make a very unified, strong culture that is Kenya. But as long as we are fighting amongst ourselves, we will not get to the African platform. We will be sidelined. Even your neighbors are looking at you and wondering, you know, Kenya is not so good in terms of this. They're not so good in terms of this. So let's focus. First, we begin with ourselves. Then we can go out there as a strong force, because Kenya is a country that, you know, in Africa, it's renowned for some of its strengths and some of its skills. So I think that's where I want to leave it today, Douglas, that, you know, let's strengthen our own units. We start with ourselves, very small, very small. I'm doing the right thing at the level of the county, at the level of the country, and then going into the world. So it is possible, and it always starts with us.
Thank you for that. So on to you, Lala.
Okay. Thank you, Douglas. Thank you, Faraha. I think the starting point for us as Africans should be the place where we can make the biggest improvement. And I think we started it, but on a wrong footage. And I would propose what Traore has done, a government or leadership that allows or work with the people to make people feel like this belongs to us. And you can only do that if you add value to somebody's life. For example, relevant education. I call education because it is the education that transformed China. The focus on education, and the focus on skills building, the focus on people that will transform their land. I think one of the saddest things that we've done is we love education, but a number of so-called education really do not add a lot of value to us. So we need clear thinking so that we can empower our youth so that they can be the attraction of investors, those who want things to happen in their countries. They would come to Kenya. They don't have to take us out of Kenya, but they can come and invest in us, because investment require not just by us, for us, which is the primary one, but also those outside of the borders, because the world is one. We can't be isolated from the rest of the world. So training, building skills, helping our young people to be ready for what is coming. Secondly, honest leadership, like Traore has shown us, that yes, we have these resources, but they belong to us, belong to the people. Let people know that Kenya is there for them, is invested in them. Usually when you have a stake in something, you protect it. Right now, you tell me to die for Kenya, protect Kenya. What am I protecting? If when I want something, I have to be I have to bribe, somebody has to, give something to get something. So we have people that have never been helped by a nation, when actually a nation should be, the love for the nation should be to the point where we are willing to give our lives because of what is done for us. Okay? I'm also that is something for us, but we gotta feel like we're in an environment that respects us, that value us, and that also we have a stake in. That way, we are there to protect it. Okay. So my words are still honesty. Truth must be told, like it's being told here, and all of us must. Secondly, finally, I think that's the last point. There's a word called denial. We use it for psychological work a lot, that word denial. Denial is the reason why we are where we are. Because with denial, we know the truth, but either we are scared or we explain it away. For example, SK Macharia revealed to us our past, things that we did that don't just go away. They're there. In fact, it can make things worse, because now people know. They know why things have been this way. Anger is building inside of us. Or we can use that knowledge to say, you know what, let us change. Let us make a difference. Let us confront the problem and make changes. Because if we do, then we have learned something. Life is about teaching, learning, a teachable moment. And we have this time to learn. And there's no way we can learn if we are not willing to forsake, confront whatever happened, and getting on the right path. So Kenyans, talks are cheap. No matter how much angry we are, upset we are, if we don't change, if we don't use it to bring truth, to pursue justice, then I'm sorry to say we are just building some fire on top of another fire, and soon it will explode. Thank you. Thank you, Douglas. Thank you all. God bless you. Bye-bye. God bless you.
Thank you, Lala. Okay. You're saying?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, I heard you mumble something, Benini. No, I thought I heard you say something.
I just said bye. I said but
okay.
The end. Yeah. Saying goodbye.
Okay. Thank you, Lala, and thank you, Purabad, for checking into the studio and just helping me, helping us, digest this conversation, make sense of it, and pretty some insightful submissions you've made there, and given us a way forward on how we should move on as a society. And just to as my final take, I won't say much. I think Fura and Lala, they've covered extensively. So my take, just to you, my viewers, Kenyans, even as we yearn for a leadership that is going to transform our country into a better nation, and I just want to remind you to be that person you want to see in the leaders, that that person you wish our leaders would be. It has to begin with you. If you want accountability, then are you accountable yourself? If you want honesty in your leaders, in your politicians, are you honest yourself? If you want a corrupt-free government and its leaders, can you say no to when a bribe is asked from you? So, because these leaders, in as much as we love to criticize them, they come from amongst us. They are as Kenyans as we are. So, just a reminder. Yes, Lala.
I think it's awesome. You said, Germany lost the Second World War because of minerals in Congo, not because of uranium. I don't disagree with that. I don't know what awesome meant, but as Congo has something to do with it, which I think I stated. So the dynamics there, I don't know the details, but if you got more information, awesome, you can let us know. But I think that had something to do with it. But of course, the truth must be told. The tyrant, the whole world was against him, and of course, he had to be defeated. So, but thank you for raising that issue. Awesome.
Okay. Thank you, Lala. Okay, so maybe I'll take that last comment from Awesome. It says Kenyans must have patience. Things take time to change. Doesn't happen overnight. And if there's anyone who disputes this, can give us more information. But okay, things take time to change. But does that go for corruption too? I think I don't know. I guess I'll leave that with you as you go to bed to think about it. Okay, with that, I've come to the end of my show tonight. Have a good night. Good morning to those of you who've already crossed over. See you on the other side. My name is Douglas. Bye-bye. Okay, before I disappear, my poll question, I can't leave without giving you the final tally. So I had asked you, is impeachment more about settling political scores than it's about ensuring accountability? So 73% of you at the end of the poll, 41 votes, 73% say yes, 27% of you say no. Okay, so with that, I've come to the end of the show. See you on the other side. Tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye-bye.
Are you looking for video live streaming services? You want your church services to be on air? You do not know where to market your goods and services? At Sound Candid Talk, we deliver the best live stream services for your events, product and service launches, conferences, weddings, and marriages. Reach on us today.